My friends, we are on the way to becoming a two-tiered society, composed of a few winners and a larger group of Americans left behind, whose anger and whose disillusionment is easily manipulated. Once unbottled, mass resentment can poison the very fabric of society, the moral integrity of a society, replacing ambition with envy, replacing tolerance with hate.
Some prophetic words there from former Labor Secretary Robert Reich speaking back in 1994. That speech is included in the new Netflix documentary, Saving Capitalism, based on Reich's book by the same name. And Robert Reich joins us now. He's a professor of public policy at the University of California at Berkeley. That was almost chilling to hear those words, especially looking at today, because resentment can also be taken advantage of.
Not only can it be taken advantage of, it has been taken advantage of. I mean, you know, looking 20 years back, there's some people at the table who I remember talking with 20 years back about some of these issues, widening inequality and the stagnation of wages and people becoming angry politically, and also the rigging of the game. And 20 years later, or 18 years later, 17 years later, those themes become much more central to American politics because people really do believe, and this is not just Trump. I mean, if it weren't for Donald Trump, we'd have somebody else. We have demagogues lined up. If we don't get this system working for more people and people feel like they have a chance to become winners in the system, we're going to have demagogues forever.
I think we have to identify, Mr. Secretary, what it means to have a rigged economy so people know how to approach it and how to attack it and how to solve those problems. From where you sit, how is the economy rigged?
It's rigged because big money has invaded politics in a big, big way. And that big money buys favors. It buys laws and regulations and tax favors and subsidies and bailouts. It buys almost everything, even if you look at something that is supposed to be neutral, like a bankruptcy system. Well, you know, if you're a student, you have a student loan, or if you are somebody who just can't pay on your home, you can't use bankruptcy. But if you are a casino owner, you know, you can, and your casino goes down and your name is Trump, you can use bankruptcy 4 times. I mean, it's those kinds of rules and laws multiplied thousands of times that people are gradually understanding are undermining the standard of living of most people. Look, pharmaceuticals. We are paying more for pharmaceuticals in this country than the people of any other country are paying. Why? Because the pharmaceutical industry has a lock on Washington. And it continues to get laws passed that make it more and more expensive for people to buy pharmaceuticals.
So what gives you hope that that lock can be unlocked? I mean, this is a system that's been in place for a long time. People like you have tried to fight it to no avail in many cases. What changes? What gives me hope is that, number one, history. You look at the last time we had this kind of a situation in America, the Gilded Age, the robber barons of the 1880s, 1890s. America is resilient. We, as a people, we said no. We had a progressive era. A Republican president, Teddy Roosevelt, who went after the trusts, the monopolies, and the corruption. I'm also optimistic because I have never seen as much citizen activism right now as I've seen since the anti-Vietnam War. And that eventually bubbles up. It bubbled up a little bit Tuesday. We're going to see more of it. And, you know, it's not just Republican versus Democrat. Let's get out of that box. It's people who are so tired, they're anti-establishment. They're either anti-establishment authoritarians, that is the Trump voters, or they're anti-establishment reformers, progressives.
So, Mike and then Heidi.
Well, let's talk about this slow slide, maybe a couple of decades long, toward the disparity that we all live with today. So we're confronted with the enemies that have created this, automation, technology, companies operating for shareholders only. what else are we confronted with? And how difficult are the odds against pulling this disparity a little closer together?
Well, Mike, the globalization and technology, a lot of other countries, most other countries face the same things. They don't have the degree of inequality of income and wealth and political power we have in this country. The issue is not globalization and it is not technology. The issue is money and politics. The first step is to get big money out of American politics. You know, when I said that 20 years ago, people didn't know what I was talking about. I say that around the country now, and people applaud.
It's resonating.
They understand it.
Citizens United.
Well, we're getting rid of Citizens United, reverse that, but also public financing of campaigns, reducing the sort of you know, inevitable, the kind of between government and business, the degree to which we are seeing, and of course the Trump administration exemplifies this, lobbyists who are in government or people who are in government who are going into lobbying. When I first went to Washington in the 1970s, 3% of members of Congress became lobbyists. Right now, it's 50% of retiring members of Congress become lobbyists.
All right, Heidi.
That type of sweeping legislative change is highly unlikely in this Congress. So is there anything that this Congress can do today to put us on the road to tackle that issue of wages, of unrigging wages? Because a corporate tax cut, I'm sure you will agree, is probably unlikely to do that. What can kind of put us on the road to trying to unrig the wage problem?
Well, I think the most important thing right now is to make sure that the tax cut does not ever reach the light of day. That is that whole tax cut is just a giant corporate tax cut. The middle class is going to be hurt. The very wealthiest members of our society are going to come out even better than they are doing right now, which is better than they've ever done in history. There should never have been this tax cut on the agenda. We have many, many more important things to do right now. I mean, for example, instead of unemployment insurance, we should have re-employment insurance. So people who lose their jobs get job counseling, job training, job search assistance. We ought to have wage insurance. We ought to, you know, the children's health insurance is not even, we haven't even renewed that. I mean, there's so many things that this country desperately needs to do. And a tax cut for corporations is the bottom, is the least important.
The documentary is Saving Capitalism, debuting on Netflix November 21st. Robert Reich, thank you very much for being on. Good to have you.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.